Welcome along to the Ever So Lean podcast. I'm Matt Sims, and this is where we get into the real stuff that drive great leadership, high performance, and a thriving culture of continuous improvement. I chat openly and honestly with people who've been there and done it. The kind of leaders who create real impact, not just in numbers, but in the way their teams think, feel, and perform. If you're after honest insights, practical ideas, and conversations that challenge the way we lead, you're in the right place, because where people thrive, performance follows.
The Ever So Lean podcast
with Matt Sims. Because where people thrive, performance follows.
And there we go. Apparently we are live. I don't know if we are live or not. It just says we are. So yeah, there you go. This is an Ever So Lean podcast live broadcast on a package that was upgraded 10 minutes ago. So it really is suck it and see what happens.
Super exciting.
Yeah, amazing. How many people are watching now? Could be millions, could be no one. Could be just us sitting here listening to ourselves. We'll see what happens. If this works out quite well, this might be the modern way to do the podcasting, because it gives people who are listening and watching the opportunity to give feedback and ask questions to guests, which I think is a really great way of doing it. Anyway, why are we here today? Well, I'm joined by three fantastic guests. They're not only guests, they're speakers as well. And they are going to be speaking at this year's LCS Conference and Awards. Now, you hear a lot about speakers when conferences are happening. You normally see a post come up on LinkedIn with a picture of the speaker and maybe a little headline of what they're going to be speaking about. But very rarely do you hear about exactly what that speaker's done in the past, where their experience has come from, and what they're going to be talking about. And that's why this is a little bit different, because the three speakers that are joining me today are going to tell you a little bit about them and what they're going to be talking about at the conference itself. So if it tickles your pickles, it might be worth getting yourself a ticket to the LCS Awards in September in Manchester, actually. A very nice hotel. Are you staying in the hotel, guys? You staying up that way?
Oh, near the hotel.
Yes.
Yeah. I live in Manchester, so sadly no hotel.
Oh, Beth. Oh, no, that's terrible. I'll tell you a little, just before I introduce you, just reminded me of something, right? When I lived in Maidstone in Kent, I once, when I worked at Amazon, had to take a group of people from America on like a little tour around the UK to see different sites. And because I had young children at the time, I wasn't going to be able to sleep during the day because it was a night shift that we were doing. So I stayed in a hotel that was 10 minutes literally from my house just so that I could sleep in peace. It felt so strange. Anyway, right.
Child, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to get to sleep where you can, don't you? It's how you got to do it. Right, let's run around the room then and see who we've got in the room. Beth, tell us a little bit about you.
Hello. So my name is Beth Lee Wilson. I lead on continuous improvement at the University of Manchester. I have probably been working with Lean for, nearly 15 years. I have kind of a dual specialism background in continuous improvement and organizational change management as well. I think the two go really nicely hand in hand.
Yeah.
And the focus that we're looking at the university at the moment is how can we create a culture of continuous improvement rather than that isolated pockets of benefit being created by value-driving projects.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the hardest things to do is to turn it into a culture, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'll have it done next week. It'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting to see it when we come to the awards. We're going to have a tour.
Please tell me the secret sauce. Please tell me the secret sauce.
We could bottle it, couldn't
when
we?
I've discovered it, I will.
Bart, you're sitting there looking like you're very intelligent with all your books behind you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Showcase. Yeah. So that's me on the nerdy side a bit. So I'm Bart, based in the Netherlands, and I'm the founding partner of Leanprofs, a consultancy firm which aims to bring, most of the time, corporates to lasting performance improvement on the shop floor. We mainly do it for the utilities industry, so the power grid operators and some hospitals and governments as well. My background is in business administration and a very niche specialization. It's modern social technical systems. So an organization as a social system and a technical system at the same time. And it's perfectly with the lean, the Lean approach.
Yeah, incredible. I can see why you got so many books now.
Yeah.
Definitely a clever guy. They say you should never be the smartest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I'm
All
definitely in the right room today. I can feel that 100%.
I am as well. Yeah.
Leon, last but certainly not least.
Same as you, Matt. I am the least qualified person in this call officially. Maybe a bit of background. So my name's Leon. I head up the OPEX software division as part of the Reinvigoration Group. I started in technology at 16. I'm 45 in November, so that's coming up on, I suppose, 30 years of problem solving for enterprises with tech, software, hardware, consulting. And somewhere in there over that time, I kind of stopped being so interested in the technology, but more focused and interested in sort of why good organizations do work badly, I suppose you could put it. And the Reinvigoration Group, they asked me to sort of come in and build up and drive forward the technology division of that business, and OPEX was born out of that. So I walked into improvement as a complete outsider 3 years ago, which turned out to be a really useful bit, I think, which raises the obvious question: what am I actually going to be talking to a group of experts about at this event? So yeah, that's that.
Well, perhaps that's where we should start then, Leon. So, funny story. A couple of days ago, I sat down with Chris Dando, who's obviously the CEO of Reinvigoration Group. And Chris was telling me all about the OPEX platform and about you, actually. You're mentioned quite a few times in there. I left it in because I thought, leave it in there, give you some credit.
Thank you, Chris.
And the OPEX platform looks like something that's going to be a real game changer for creating the foundations for a culture of continuous improvement. Do you want to share a little bit about the platform and then share what you're going to be speaking about?
Yeah, sure. So OPEX was born out of Reinvigoration. So they've got a legacy of delivering improvement, lean, operational excellence programs in huge companies across the globe over a very long time. And they always wanted to sort of put the capability that they'd built, the expertise they'd built, in the hands of the folks that they were leaving behind after they finished a project. And so they built a software product that helped capability build. I was brought in to help drive that business unit forward. And the thing that kept coming up when we were talking to organizations was, we have a real problem with execution and scale of execution. And as a profession, we don't have a place to go every day. As a designer, you have Figma, you have Adobe. As I suppose as a developer, you have tools that you go to every day. But the CI pros don't have the place they go every day to do their work. And so we started to think about, how does that look for a CI professional or a change professional, transformation professional? And that's where OPEX was born. So we've built the operating system for the Continuous Improvement Pro. More on that later. My talk, though, being I suppose, an outsider and only been in the space for sort of 3 years, I suppose it's nothing they don't already know, the CIO folks that we'll be talking to, but that's not what I'm bringing. I'm in that room not as an expert, but I'm in it as the person that the experts are trying to reach.
Yeah.
And actually the product is born and being developed on that fundamental, which is sometimes when you're really close to something, you can't quite see the obvious. And so I've essentially brought all of that to my talk, and I've kind of tried to make it as simple as possible. And that's where the alphabet comes in. ABC to I is the name of the talk. And really that's the alphabet that I've learned over the last 3 years, and hopefully will deliver some insight to a group of folks that are subject matter experts.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell.
But I think it's a really good angle to come in at, though, having those fresh eyes and be effectively, you're the customer. That I just think it's very clever. It hurts my brain thinking about it. I just think it's very clever that you're talking about it from that side. And you are so right as well. I've worked in continuous improvement for 25 years, And the only place we had to go was a dark corner to smash our head into the wall and cry about how lonely it was and how nobody's doing what we're asking them to do. And everyone's giving you different numbers, and there's multiple dashboards that you've got to go to try and find the version of the truth that fits the narrative that you're trying to create. And then you get all of these different leaders that are asking you for different information. To have one central dashboard effectively that's got everything housed within it, even to go as far as to say you can have the learning paths in there for people that are learning, continuous improvement and developing. It's a fantastic tool. It just looks like it's a game changer.
I hope so. And the initial feedback and the reaction in the marketplace has been fantastic. And there'll be some announcements in the next few weeks and months about new organizations that have actually taken on the platform, and they're scaling it, which is fantastic. I think from my perspective, we've learned a huge amount from the community, not just the LCS community, but the reinvigoration legacy as well. But actually, the fresh eyes, for me, I think it's opened up an opportunity far, I suppose, far larger than we originally anticipated. And I'm hoping to learn a lot from the event as well. So Bart and Beth, you guys are in the sort of trenches trying to deliver sustainment and engagement, and I'm super excited to hear about what you guys have got to say as well. So yeah, these talks and these sessions feed into what we're doing with the product. And the worst thing we can do is build a product and build a solution that is sort of blind to that feedback. And I think the one thing I'm really proud of is that we've taken all the feedback so far and built it into something that folks can be proud of and actually use and get value from. So yeah, hopefully that sort of dovetails into, I guess, the talk and some of the things I've learned just being an outsider.
Are you going to show it on the screen during the talk? Have you got screenshots and stuff?
No, what I didn't want it to turn in, I don't know if you guys have seen Steve Ballmer back in the day when they were launching a product and he's like on the stage with his...
That's what I was imagining. It's exactly what I could say.
It's like this. It's really hard to watch. I didn't want to turn it into that. I wanted to turn it into, look, this is me. This is what I've learned in the last 3 years or so off the back of 29 years in tech, selling and creating products that were being used by large enterprises. This is what I've seen in the last 3 years, and that's underpinned by the sort of tech and innovation kind of background that I've got. So yeah, I didn't want to turn it into sort of a pitch and people switch off. They know when you're selling stuff.
Yeah.
So it's me. It's raw. Hopefully, it gives some insight into the people you're trying to reach.
Yeah, I don't think you need to pitch it. I think that people that work in this industry will recognise straight away that this is a tool that is going to give them a huge leg up in terms of being able to get a culture growing, for sure.
Matt, the one thing we will do, though, is we'll stick a QR code up, and there's a free version of the platform that people can get, and it's a personal version. It's not an enterprise version, and it has some key capabilities they can take and use for free for the rest of time. So that's one thing we will do in that session.
I'll tell you one thing it has done. It's completely messed up my my slides that I use when I train Greenbelt. Because I was training a Greenbelt group the other day, and one of the slides talks about what we call as a Kaizen charter or a project charter. And it's where you map out your project from start to finish, and everybody, it goes out to all the stakeholders. Everyone can see it, so everyone knows what's going on. And I'm going through it with the group, and all of a sudden someone put their hand up and said, we've been trialing this new thing called OPEX, so we're not going to use that document. And I was like, I've got to redo all of these slides now because there's now new technology that's completely changed the way. And it's not the first time I've heard somebody say it either.
I'm sorry, Matt, but there is a version you can use and put in front of your clients as well. So
that's probably a good shout. Yeah, then I could include it within the slides, and I can actually talk from experience then, because I wing it at the moment. They go, it does this, and I go, yeah, I know, yeah, it does that, yeah.
We've all been there.
Until they say something it doesn't do, and then I'm like,
It's in the roadmap. That's the key thing. That's the phrase. It's in the roadmap.
But interestingly, though, you were talking about taking feedback from people and developing it for the people. That's agile, isn't it? That is sprints, taking feedback, improving it, going with it. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that comes from my time in startups, right? So startups throw the word lean around a lot, right? And they don't really understand what lean is, startups. And actually, the thing, and I'm guilty of it, 20 years of building companies and growing them and, either being acquired or sort of merging with others. The word lean gets chucked around a lot. And actually, it's a concept in the startup world, which is go fast, break things. You've heard all the sort of vernacular thrown around, but actually they don't know what it is. And Chris's expertise and his real experience is in the large enterprise world. And I've come to this sort of thinking, there's so many startups that could benefit from this, not just large organizations. They could benefit from all of the fundamentals. And I think that's I think it's an opportunity that's missed quite a bit in the world of lean CI and all those disciplines. But yes, you're right. It is agile. It is lean, and I think we all could be doing more of it in the startup world. Absolutely. Just underpinning that concept and that way of working with a bit more framework and mechanics. So it's not just for the large enterprise, it's for the smaller business trying to build something and sell to the large organizations or large, mass consumers. It's definitely an opportunity there.
It's exciting. I think we should see what Beth's been doing in Manchester. So in your hometown, Beth, we're coming to your manor, your backyard. Are you laying on a party for us? Is there an after party back at yours?
Not with a sleeping child, there won't be, no.
Good point. Yeah.
Sadly, I'll have to see what I can pull, what strings I can pull at the university for an after party.
Yeah, well, that'd be a good party, wouldn't it?
I'm sure our students will be up for something. So,
so what's your take then on this OPEX piece? Do you think this is something that's needed?
Yes, definitely. I think for me, we often see people working really hard at trying to do continuous improvement. And where we see challenges, it often isn't at that kind of frontline level. I think those people often are the easiest to engage, because what we're saying is, tell us what frustrates you. Tell us what doesn't work about the way that you're doing things right now. Let's get together and leverage your understanding of this process, your understanding of what's going on, to fix things, to improve things. And that is a much more welcome approach than your sort of traditional project approach, where a new way of working or process may have been designed in a dark room and then it's implemented out to the people that are working without necessarily that consultation element to say whether it will really work or not. But even if you have loads of those successes, they can still be very isolated successes. And particularly for higher education institutions, Manchester is definitely one of these. We're very data poor. We are very, very data poor. So proving the benefit of all this hard work, of what we're doing, can be really difficult. Being able to have some kind of dashboard where we're tracking that, where it's easy to view, where we're able to share information quickly with senior leadership, and again, kind of prove the value of taking people away from their desks, of running workshops, of investing the time and effort into this. Being able to show the value of that is critical, because increasingly, I'm sure everyone is aware of the kind of situation around higher education at the moment. We do have a lot of financial pressures, various geopolitical things happening in the world impact on us, and the students that are wanting to come to the UK, willing to come to the UK, able to travel here, impacted by all of those things. So we need to be able to prove the benefit of what we're doing. We need to be able to show that it's worth doing lean. It's worth working in a lean way. It's worth embracing continuous improvement as a way of working. And I think being able to have kind of a one view of that, an easy dashboard for people to interact with, I'm certainly sold on it already. So, Leon, expect me to be tapping you on the shoulder, hopefully.
Leon's going to have a big audience, I think.
Yeah, it's something we definitely lack at the moment. And I can really see benefit in having that to be able to explain, well, yes, yes, we took 10 hours away from your team the other month, but look at what we've gotten in return for that.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your talk then. How's your talk going to pan out?
So my talk definitely contains elements of needing to have that system, needing to have that structure, that governance, that visibility of benefit creation as a core part of making continuous improvement lean a success. I'm focusing on how can we scale and what does it look like to scale. So generally, these sorts of improvements, these transformations, if you will, they're not driven by tools. They're driven by people.
Yeah.
But what we find happening so often and across sectors is that you end up with isolated improvement activity.
Mhm.
You end up with those experts in local areas doing brilliant work. But how are we actually scaling that across a larger organization, perhaps a multi-site organization? You know, if you've got a brilliant person up in Glasgow, how is everyone in Essex benefiting from that? They're probably not at all. Do they ever talk? So how can you create that scale? And what does it look like to build from that point of isolated improvement to organizational wide improvement structure? Definitely needs that kind of systemic support. It needs that dashboard view of what's going on and how are we improving and how can we share successes. You know, if something's worked really well in one area, will it work for another team as well? It's about kind of getting that balance between creating, driving improvements, creating longer term capability and understanding across an organization to be able to bring that to life, and also being able to track and monitor that benefit. So what I'm doing is a bit of an interactive session. It's a simulation, and it is looking at how we move from that isolated improvement to that organizational wide capability. I'm really hoping, without giving too much away, because I do want people to turn up to my session, I'm really hoping that people are able to leave with at least one idea that they can actually immediately apply. And that's whether they've got very little experience and they're new to this kind of approach, or whether you've got 20 years using Lean and you're a master black belt. I'm hoping there's something for everybody in it.
I'm sure there will be. And that's the joy of conferences like this, is that you do get such a diversity of people's experience as well. And sometimes that can make it really challenging as a speaker to know where you're pitching what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's trying to, because often you'll know your audience a lot more and you'll have an idea of their level of understanding. When you've got a mixed level of understanding, you're always cautious. You don't want to teach people to suck eggs who know this inside out. And you also don't want to leave people who are new to it behind and go over their heads. So it's a careful balance.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that by running an activity, by having kind of mixed levels of experience and understanding on tables working together, we can find that balance.
And it's always the best way to learn, isn't it, as well, through application. So an activity is great.
Yeah, that's how I always design my training. It's never let's look at slides for 3 hours. It's a lot more, here's a few slides, let's do something to cement that learning and try it out. Now let's learn something else. So that's kind of how I progress with building that capability. And that's what I'm focused on at the moment in Manchester.
Out of interest then, so actually at the university, in sessions when people are learning about Lean and Six Sigma, etc., do they do it hands-on there? Are there activities that they do?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of them at the moment I've designed myself. That's not to say they're particularly groundbreaking. I think it's all a lot of examples that we're very familiar with. I was running root cause analysis problem solving training just the other day and using the Jefferson Memorial example. Sure we're all familiar with that example. If not, do Google it. It's a really great story to use when you're engaging people around using this kind of approach. But that one always goes down really well. And I turn it into an activity by effectively drip feeding information. through the session. So you start off with an amount of information, and you're given the role of Director of Conservation of the Jefferson Memorial. You're told that it's eroding and you need to do something about it. And then that information is kind of drip fed through the rest of the session to get you to a point where you understand what the root cause is and therefore what a good solution might be.
Yeah, it's a really good example, actually. So it always, like you say, it always goes down well. I went on to, when I created my Greenbelt program, I went on to Amazon and I bought about 30 bags of these little tiny Lego buggies. And I do an exercise with 5S and the 8 wastes, and they build the buggy over 5 rounds with different wastes removed at each opportunity. And they work through the S's. And it's got really competitive now, like really strong. It's amazing. And I've got some organizations that when they first do it, it takes them 15 minutes, right, to build this buggy. It's carnage. And you could have 10 groups and this buggy will look different across all 10 groups. And the fastest someone's built it now is 0.79 seconds.
No way. Wow.
At the end. And that's by working through all of the lean principles and then doing it. And it's so, I'm not going to give away how they do it. And people go, oh, you can't do it that fast. And by the end of it, they're all fighting to have a go at getting that time. And I have to video it just in case they do it. But it seems people love that because they don't realize that they're learning and they're absorbing the information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's giving people an opportunity to not receive information passively, but to actually start to think about how am I engaging with this and how does it relate to what I'm actually doing in real life? How does this sort of translate to my work, my area? And I always think that kind of opportunity to do something hands-on is so much more engaging and therefore really solidifies the learning a lot more.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued by how your session's going to go and what activities you've got planned as well. Do we need to bring a swimsuit? Anything we need to bring? Goggles?
I promise it's all above ground. It's all dry.
Okay, right. Okay. Oh, there's a hosepipe ban probably in Manchester, isn't there? So you can't do that.
Oh well, we're raining it. We've got rain at the moment. But
yeah, so have we actually. Funny. First of all, did you get that smell? Remember the playground smell when it used to rain when you was at school?
Yeah.
That's the smell that I can smell this morning. Right, Bart, over to you. Tell us a little bit about your talk and what you've got planned for everybody.
Oh, it's going to be an amazing interactive session. I'm looking so forward to your talks as well, Beth and Leon. I hope I can be there and we are not hosting one session at the same time, to be honest. But, well, I'm in the trenches. So as a consultant, as a trainer, I notice all these large enterprises that do it so hard. They are working so hard to improve. And in some way, they are pushing the needle. But it feels like they go one step forward, 2 steps back, and it gets worse. So very overcomplicated change programs that are all designed for top-down implementations. And at a point, I can no longer agree with those approaches. So the past few years, I developed a 5-step approach for easy and lasting change management. And I will take all the attendees through these 5 steps in a session where they can use their own examples to apply the steps directly.
That's fantastic. So it's your own model, effectively, your own approach.
Yeah. It's
very
based
exciting.
on all these books behind me, right?
Yeah, you've amassed the knowledge, you've converted it into your own version, and now you're rolling it out.
Yeah, but it should be easy. Change management, we make it so overcomplicated, and with 8-step approaches and all kind of tools. Well, calm down. It's easy. So, for example, when a new coworker enters a company, they are shaped by the company. They are, in fact, conditioned by the company. And we can use the same principles to deconditioning, unlearn some behavior, but you can also use these principles to learn new behavior. Yeah. In my opinion, each improvement, if you use 5S, process mapping, Obeya, whatever you call it, it's all about behavior change. We need another way of working together and acting together. And if we use a new tool and our behavior stays the same, well, I don't think there can be a lasting performance improvement.
Yeah, you're right. You know, it's change management. Change management is such a strange phenomena because of it all comes back to people. You could have the best tools, the best methods or anything, but if you don't put the people at the center of what you're doing, it always fails. Now, I am all for change. I champion change. I drive change. Everything I do is all about change, but I hate change. You can't change my routine. You can't make me do something I don't normally do. And I thought about it the other day. I was thinking, why is that? Why do I resist change so much, even though I am somebody who champions it? And when I've really got stuck into it, I thought, do you know what it is? It's when it's forced upon me. When I don't feel that I have a choice or a part to play in it, I feel that I'm being changed rather than doing it because I want to. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a great line from Peter Senge. It's people don't resist change; they resist being changed.
Spot on.
Yeah,
spot on.
That's
exactly right. Because people want to feel part of something. They don't want to feel. It takes you back to being a child, doesn't it? Being told what to do. I was the other day. Right, my daughter, she's 4. And I was thinking, she gets up in the morning and then I make her breakfast and give her a breakfast at the time that suits me. Then I tell her to get dressed. I tell her what to put on and she puts it on. She goes off and plays. Then I say, we're going out. She doesn't know where we're going. I just say, get your shoes on, we're going out. I put her in the car. She sits in the car. She doesn't know how long it's going to be. All she knows is that I've told her we're going out. We get there. She goes off and plays, and then she doesn't know when we're going to leave. She can't plan or have any control over what's going on. I just say, we're leaving now, and then we have to leave. As a child, you just accept that that's the way it is, and eventually they get their own will and their own mind, and they start to challenge, and that's where you get the whys and the, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But when we're an adult, if somebody tries to map it out for us like that and don't involve us in the change, just tell us it's happening, I think we revert back to that child as it's like, well, hang on a minute. Yeah. I've been doing this job for 10 years. I know it inside out. And now you're telling me I've got to do it like that. Why have I got to do it like that? And we miss that key part of getting them involved, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we actually do.
And I sometimes wonder, Bart, do you think the overcomplication of change has been introduced by folks trying to make money out of change? Or do you think...
Oh, definitely.
Great question.
I think that's the reason why every 4 years we have a new change approach. It's the same approach, but with a new name, just to make some extra money.
Yeah. I think there's also an element in there, though, of a model or an approach gets rolled out, an organization tries to do it, they say it failed. I think probably the execution failed rather than the methods, but then they have to find something new. Something new has to come along to replace that, because you can't then go back to that because everyone goes, well, it didn't work, it failed.
Yeah, of course. And they need some kind of, a scapegoat. Is it correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, all right. It's not me. It's the tool. Let's use a new tool. So my ego doesn't get offended. And then you get a new board member after 4 or 5 years, right? And she proposes a new tool. And we know it will fail out in 2 years. So new board member gets fired. New board member comes in town, and she uses a new approach. It's all the same story.
Yeah. It's a really good question, though, Leon.
Yeah.
Wish I'd have thought that myself. Very good question. I think there's a lot of psychology involved, isn't there, in change? Yeah. And I don't think a lot of the traditional methods of teaching continuous improvement go into psychology and the people side enough. I think it's a massive part of it, and it should be a fundamental part of what we learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two go hand in hand so well. And like you've been saying, you can't really have a great tool with someone who doesn't understand the tool. That's never going to work. Or someone who's just not engaging with it. They've just not got it in whatever way they need to get it to be able to use it in earnest. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the tools. It's that understanding that is prevented things from working. It's that lack of engagement that is the blocker. So how can we actually address that psychology rather than the methodology?
Exactly. Yeah. And do you know what? A couple of years ago, I've got loads of these knocking around. That's what we all have, right? Loads of these pads that I write in. I don't know why I write it down, because I never read it again. But I write it all down. And a couple of years ago, I thought, I'm going to become modern. I went and bought like one of those remarkable like notebook type things that you can write in and take notes in. Right? Everyone raved about them. And since I've had that remarkable, I've probably written more in a notebook than I have done ever before, because it's too complicated. Like, the change for me should have been really easy, but you have to read the instruction booklet that's like that, and my brain can't cope with that, and I haven't got time to do that. So it's easier just to go with what I've always known than go with something that's overcomplicated. And I know I didn't have I can't say I should have been involved in designing the remarkable, because I'm going to be the user. I want to be involved in the change. But because I forced the change upon myself rather than really understanding what it was all about, I've not adopted it, and it just sits there now, and every now and then has an update, and that's it. That's what happens, isn't it? It's what happens in reality. If it's too difficult, we're human beings, we won't do it. We'll find a different way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, it's a path of least resistance always. What's the easiest route? That's the one I'm going to take, regardless of how potential benefits are being sold on using this new way. It's like, if it feels harder to do, I'm never going to do it. So how can we focus on making things feel easy to do? I worked in IT previously at Manchester Metropolitan University, in fact.
You need to get out of Manchester every now and then, Beth. There
I?
are other parts of the world.
But the focus there was always, one of the teams that I led was the training team. And our focus was, how can we make this so easy to understand that an 80-year-old could follow it? So if it's IT instructions, we're going to assume zero knowledge. We're going to assume you barely know how to turn on your computer. And that's how we're going to write the instructions. Because historically, they'd always been, a new system, and you have to do this update, you have to follow these instructions. It was always written by someone who knew what they were doing. And they wrote it from the perspective of someone who took for granted that you know what you're doing. You would be amazed at the number of people with PhDs, really, outstanding in their field. If they're not kind of techie people, if they don't have a real affinity for IT, they will play with it like this. Yeah. And they will resist it enormously, even if it will make their lives significantly easier, because it feels hard. Yeah. So how can we explain things to people in a way that's really easy, that's really sort of simple, step by step, and actually gets people to where they need to get to, without overcomplicating it and without making it seem like a barrier that you have to overcome in order to get there?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
And that's where diversity comes in. You need different perspectives and brains and ways of like doing things to kind of actually get the most efficient way of doing things. And as a tech guy, I think I'll build something and I'll go, that is the smartest thing I've ever done. That's amazing. People are going to love this. And you put it out there and it's like, and it's like, and Matt, when we're up, I'll share the story with you. I came up with an idea and I put it in front of Chris. I was like, Chris, I think this is going to take the world by storm. This is amazing. And he's like, yeah, it's not going to work. I don't know what you're on about. This thing looks totally complicated. And I was like,
say you spent a lot of money.
No, not at all. It was one of those ideas you think of late at night and you go, oh, this is going to be amazing. Everybody's going to love this. And I put it in front of a group of people that are like, oh, what are you on about? This is and so having that diversity of views and opinions and things really shapes something that people will actually use, whether it's a software product or a framework or a tool or whatever. But sometimes you don't actually know until you put it out in front of people. Yeah, you kind of have to take the chance of failure to kind of find out really. And people are so scared of failure, especially in larger organizations. And I think that's where the startup and sort of tech world doesn't really have as much of a problem with failure. You only learn by putting it in front of people and sort of doing the do, I suppose.
The problem is we have that fear of failure drummed into us from a young age. Pass, fail, black, white, true, false, yes, no. It's drummed into us that you cannot fail. And unfortunately, trying to with the generations that have already had that learning instilled in them, to change that is very difficult. But what we can do is we can change the way the future generations see failure. And I think that's the responsibility of people like us that are at the forefront of continuous improvement and bringing new generations into leadership. I think that's a massive responsibility for us, is to say, do you know what? It's okay if it goes wrong. In fact, you'll learn more from that.
Totally.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge behavioral and cultural shift that needs to be made, and with definitely something that we're grappling with at the university at the moment, is making people feel comfortable with that uncomfortable idea that this might go wrong. This might not go the way we want it to, but it's the value that you get from things when they go wrong, can often be significantly more than when they go right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of trying to find examples of those so that we can storytell around this concept to make it feel less terrifying, I think. So, I mean, at a kind of learning institution, you would think that there's a lot of test and learn and that people are comfortable with that approach. Not so. Definitely not so. It's definitely something that people are still frightened of. I think when we got kind of our researchers and our kind of academic colleagues are probably more comfortable with it than the professional services side. So the people that,
absolutely.
in the offices running the university, definitely less appetite there for mistakes and failure. So that's something we're chipping away at the moment, to say, no, iterative improvement, continuous improvement is just that. We're trying things out and we're learning. And that learning is often more valuable than the benefit of doing something right first time.
Is that something that you see in the field, Bart? Are you seeing a resistance to, or not a resistance, the wrong word, isn't it? Is there a fear of failure that you see?
Definitely. So what I see is that people do behavior specifically because of they are negatively or positively reinforced. So if they are negatively reinforced by criticism or feedback or whatever, they are less likely to do so in the future, right? So what I see is that, yes, we want to share our failures, but in the end, somewhere on the shop floor, they are negatively reinforced. So they are less likely to share their failures in the future.
Yeah.
And what we are doing with Lean is we strip away all the wastes. These are very tangible wastes, right? And I believe about behavior change, we need to also strip away the wastes in negative reinforcement of desired behavior. So a bit technical maybe, but these are all about the intangible stuff, about your culture, Beth, which you were talking about.
Yeah, there's no greater example than space travel. Everything we know about space travel has come from failure. That's the whole
exploding
point.
Rockets and
Exactly. Yeah, worth billions of dollars that then they explode. But look at Apollo 13, the most successful failure ever.
And the other parallel though is AI. So the biggest industry in the world right now, whether it is a bubble or not, like we won't get into that, right? And whether it's going to be good or bad for society, again. But that whole industry is based on reinforcement learning. It's fail, pass, achieve. And the models are based on that. So there's something in it, right? There's something that we've got to be more comfortable with failure, I think. Or even, take it a step further, celebrate it a little bit because you found something out. It is a data point that you can use to make a decision or change something or iterate. So
it's a wake celebration, isn't it? It went wrong, it died. Yes, we learned so much from that.
So totally. I think wouldn't it be a good talk if somebody did something about that?
Yeah, that'd be a really good talk.
Last year we had a great talk about AI.
Who was that? Do you remember who it was? So great, you can't remember who it was, Bart. Brilliant, though. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Very difficult name.
But it's exciting, isn't it? I think it's an exciting conference. There's going to be you guys are going to be fantastic, but there's other speakers as well. There's many through the day. And then in the evening, we've got the fancy bit where we all put on our James Bond-esque outfits. We all get dolled up, and then we have the awards, which are amazing. Now, I was very lucky. I got to be a judge this year on the awards, and the entries were outstanding. They were so good. It was so hard to pick between them. And they are so varied as well. Like I cannot explain the difference between the organizations and what they're doing, but with the same emphasis rooted on people.
That's so
Absolutely
encouraging, Matt, to hear, because before I entered the world of, I guess you could call it CI or Lean, I had only really heard of Lean, Six Sigma, and just in pockets. But it's so good to hear that it's across, different verticals, different types of companies doing different things. That's really encouraging.
I think the thing with it is when you talk about Lean Six Sigma, the thing that pops into most people's heads will be some old balding guy with a brown leather briefcase, a grey suit and a tie on. Right?
and a stopwatch.
and a clipboard. Yeah. I think what we need to do now is we need to, for want of a better word, we've got to make it sexy and we've got to modernise this stuff and it's got to become exciting. It's got to move with the times, because if it doesn't, we are not going to encourage people to come into this sector and work within this industry. It's not going to happen. So things like the LCS Conference and Awards are massive for this, because it makes it relevant, it makes it modern. Talks like what you're giving and the different ways you're delivering. Some of you are doing talks based on fresh eyes like yours, Leon. Beth, you're giving a talk that involves actually hands-on participation. Bart, you're talking about your experiences actually in the field, and then you're bringing something new. They're all so different, but they're all offering such exciting different insights into something that could be perceived as a balding older guy with a brown leather briefcase. Can you still buy them? I don't know. I need to get one.
I'm really excited about it. I think you've got the talks, you've got the awards, but there's exhibitors there as well. We've got a stand with sort of headline sponsor. My team's going to be there. There's some giveaways and stuff as well. It should be a really good event. I think, to your point, Matt, as well, I used to work in telco, so the telco industry as a whole, they've got a real problem with their perception. It is a bit like grey-haired men in suits, and they're struggling to get like good talent, young people into it. And I think, Lean doesn't seem to have that problem as much, or the space, continuous improvement, transformation, whatever, doesn't seem to have that as much. But I fear it may go the way of telco if it doesn't have a fresher approach. So I think it definitely needs to be thought about broadly by this community, and how that happens I don't know, but events like this are a really good sort of stage for that, I think.
Yeah, they are. I think they're a brilliant stage for it, and I think it gets better every year as well. I think last year was brilliant, and from what I've seen for the plans for this year, it looks fantastic. Look, guys, thank you so much for coming on and telling us a little bit about yourselves and about your talks. I want to see them all. I'm really hoping you're not all scheduled at the same time, because that would be a severe disappointment. Hopefully they're recorded. I don't know if they were last year. Need to find out, actually, so we can share them. That'd be really, really useful to be able to see them, because it's a shame when you don't see them all, isn't it?
Matt, they're not being recorded. You've got to come live and buy a ticket.
Yeah, no, but I can't be in every room at the same time, can I, Leon? I'm not that good. I'll have to set up a camera in every room and I could just stream it onto my iPad.
Yeah, failure, point taken. I've learned something.
Although I've learned something today, right? Because I don't think this is streamed properly, because when I'm looking at the dashboard, it doesn't move. So either we're very unpopular or I haven't streamed it properly. One way or another, I'll work it out and I'll get it out there, because it's a great message to share. Thanks, everybody. You take care.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you soon.
Take care, boys. Bye.
The Ever So Lean podcast is researched, produced and recorded by Matt Sims. Visit eversolean.com to find out more.